Okay, everyone, we are going to get started. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. My name is Judy Browse, and I'm the Executive Director of NAAEE, and I'm so thrilled you're here and thrilled that this topic attracted so many signups. And we know many people sign up and then listen to it later, and we know this will be shared um, after the webinar. But today, the webinar, it's all about inspiring curiosity and critical thinking through nature journaling. And we are so lucky to have Jack Laws with us today. Um, he is an absolute leader in nature journaling, in education, in science, and in art. Fantastic. And Jack really helped put nature journaling on the map for so many of us, and he has helped so many students and educators and communities use nature journaling to learn, to inspire, to connect. And he knows better than anyone about the power of nature and combining science, art, and nature to create magic. And I'll tell you more about Jack in a minute, but first we want to do a quick poll and a few housekeeping notes. So, Carrie, do you want to launch the poll for everybody? And if you could just fill it out and let us know what you think. You got three choices here. Ooh, we have looks like a mixed crowd, a lot in the middle and some on both ends here. Excellent. Yeah, I think that you've started with nature journaling, but you could use some help. And we have a few of you who've been doing this for years, so we want to hear from you as well. Thanks, Carrie, for launching the poll. And Jack, I hope this gives you ideas of who's in the audience here.
Sure
So
does.
great. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. So, just a couple of housekeeping. First, I want to thank all of you who sent in questions. We have about 1 million, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. Carrie has helped clump them, and please keep it asking questions in the chat. We want to make use of Jack's brain as much as possible. For those of you who are new to NAAE's webinar series, we are all about bringing new ideas to the field and beyond and really featuring amazing speakers like Jack to help us all think more and get inspired. And I want to thank our affiliate co-hosts. Thank you all for all you do to advance environmental education across North America. If you're not familiar with your affiliates, please get in touch and find out what's happening in your state or region or province. And I also want to thank EPA and EE360. For the support of this webinar series and for all we are able to do through EE360 Plus to strengthen environmental education and do professional development across the country and beyond. So again, you are all muted because this is a webinar, but please ask us questions, put your ideas and any resources that you have in the chat. You also have closed captioning option if you need that. Just look at the toolbar. Everybody will get a copy of the recording and the chat, so you don't have to take notes, but you'll be able to get all that down the road, and we'll talk more about that. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, the toolbar has the chat where you can talk to us, and you've all found it since you've introduced yourself, and the closed captioning, the CC, if you need that. And there are 31 languages that you can pick from. So hopefully your language is in there. And I want to give Carrie a giant thank you. Carrie is our senior communications and data specialist. She is an amazing, she helps manage the webinar series, our podcast, our social media, our analytics. We just couldn't do this work without Carrie. So, Carrie, thank you. And if you have any tech issues or have any questions, just add them to the chat, and Carrie and I will be monitoring that. So, thanks, Carrie, for all you do. And now I am so excited to introduce Jack, John Muir Laws. He is a leader in the worldwide nature journaling movement. He is an incredible scientist, educator, and author, and he is such a generous collaborator. He helps people forge a deeper and more personal connection with nature through keeping illustrated nature journals and helping people understand the science behind it all. He's also an amazing artist, and his work intersects science, art, and mindfulness. He was trained as a wildlife biologist, and he's an associate of the California Academy of Sciences. You will also see Jack outside observing the world through his creative eyes, because he's always looking for mysteries, for ideas, for connections, and he believes that nature is the first step to caring and protecting the world. He also believes that attention, observation, curiosity, and creative thinking are not gifts, but skills that can grow with training and deliberate practice. And he promises that anyone can develop these skills. Jack is the co-founder and president of the Wild Wonder Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to encouraging nature conservation, nature connection through attention, curiosity, art, science, and community. He was awarded the Conservationist of the Year by the John Muir Association in 2024, and he has won so many awards. And he was also a 2010 Together Green Conservation Leadership Fellow with the National Audubon Society. And that's where I first met him. And we knew way back then that he was a superstar. So Jack has written and illustrated a number of books about art, journaling, and natural history. He's a regular contributor to Bay Nature magazine with his Naturalist Notebook column, and he does so much more. And he also donated time and books to our recent NAAA auction, which were snapped up like immediately. So we are so excited, Jack, to have you with us today. Let's give him a warm NAAA welcome. And Jack, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much. Uh-oh, it looks like my screen is all blurry. What would we be without a tech glitch right at the start of a program? Let me see if on my end I can get a screen back. In the meantime, I'm going to invite people to put your best nature jokes into the chat. Oh, I know what might work. I'm gonna try this, push that button. And maybe somebody could just check that chat out. And um,
Plant puns are ferny.
oh, see, that's good.
How do you fix a pumpkin? So Raina, how do you fix a pumpkin? You
Oh,
can,
do tell.
yeah, put it in the chat. With a pumpkin patch.
Oh, yay.
What do you call a turtle that's awake all night?
Um,
Nocturnal.
oh, oh,
Oh,
see,
these,
this is so good.
this
I'm
is,
glad my screen went funky for us. Otherwise, you wouldn't get this sort of cascade of awesomeness.
I know it's great. I hope you can fix that, Jack, because I don't know how to help you. What did the fish say when he hit his head? Oh, damn.
Um,
Oh, I like this. I'm liking that, Jane. What did the ocean say to the beach? Nothing. It just waved.
so everybody should know that just a moment ago when we were in the green room, um, the everything worked.
I will see if our tech guru can join. He might be able to help Jack. Can,
I have. Did it just come back?
yes, yes, yes. There you
Ah.
are. You did it. You did it.
All right. So that's just our Zoom warm up. Um, hi there, everybody. So I'm John Muir Laws, and I'm delighted to be here with all of you. Um, I see. Could we why don't we should we pin my screen?
Yes, we will do that.
All right. Um, so, hi there, everybody. I'm John Muir Laws now with Working Tech. Actually, we should do just a quick check. Does that work? Yep, that's working. Okay, we're good to go. I'm really, really happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for coming and playing with me today. The I first want to say how grateful I am to you for being here and doing the work that you are doing. I'm guessing that this is a room filled with, let's see, about 300 of us folks who are committed to connecting people with nature, with the natural world. And the world really needs this work right now. It's important always. I think it's especially important right now. And when we um, when we look at the impact of what we do and the significance of this now, we have increasingly we are people who are detached from nature and the natural world. And together we are working to rebuild that. We are also, more just sort of, in on our devices. And um, in hold on, I'm gonna change to a different camera. There. See, now I'm bigger or smaller. I was looking through that much of my screen before. So we're on these little gadgets and not not looking out, but the little gadgets and things are doing all of this thinking for us. People have a question, and so we let Chat GPT kind of figure it out for us. So the way we are thinking is off. And then we add to that, there is this we are increasingly just sort of hanging out in little silos that are not kind of connected to each other as a community. And so now we think that there's somebody over there that disagrees with me. Oh, they must either be stupid or evil or just horribly misinformed. And so I can like drop some links on them and then everything will be better. And it doesn't work when people do that to us, and it doesn't work when we do that to them. So increasingly, as a community, we're fractured against ourselves, between ourselves and nature, between ourselves and our neighbors. And the work that you are doing is critical to rebuilding that, to reconnecting people with each other, with people with nature, and people with their own processes of making meaning, of critical thinking. How can I, how can I, in a world that's increasingly filled with just crazeball stuff, how can I make meaning, sort of figure out what is truth from what's not? And actually, I'm going to use small t truth in there. The how can I get less wrong? I think that's a better way of saying it. How can I get less wrong about more stuff? And some of the tools which we have are incredibly powerful. I think that nature alone, the more that we get people out in touch with nature, it changes people. So for something that I've always enjoyed about being an environmental educator is that nature's got your back, and basically all I have to do is show up, and we're going to if when nature is happening, I just kind of you can get out of the way and say, "Ooh, there's nature doing something cool," and people will say like, "You had a great walk." Um, Another tool that we have is science. Science is extremely useful for answering specific kinds of questions. And a lot of those are kinds of questions which we're needing to explore these days. But more and more people in the United States, particularly, um, are have an increasing mistrust of science and the processes that we use. But on the other hand, there is just kind of an appeal to authority. Something is true because somebody said so. Um, that has not a very good track record as a sort of problem-solving strategy. But if we can demonstrate making arguments from evidence, and how can we look at the world around us to make meaning and and explore ways of figuring things out live in the field, and then draw conclusions from those where the strength of the conclusion is based on the strength of the evidence for a claim. We're teaching people how to do critical thinking, and we're teaching people the fundamental process that science is about. So science is not in the truth business. That's something which we're going to leave for philosophers. Science is about making useful explanations for phenomena that we can observe. And by useful, I mean that where we can say it's predictive. So if that explanation that I have is true, then I would expect to see this and this and this and this. And I look out and I go like, oh my gosh, I do. That seems to be working pretty well for now. It doesn't mean that we're right, but it means that we've at least come up with a useful explanation. And I think that that's a very powerful way of of getting around some epistemic crises and allows us to make meaning with evidence to connect more deeply with the natural world. And so, again, big heart to all of you for your commitment to working together in to to reconnect us with the world, to reconnect us with fundamental practices of thinking, to give people again the tools of how do we pay attention. Let's talk a little bit about attention for a second, and then we're going to get into some nature journaling because attention is is critical, and I think it is one of the most important things which we can really help people develop. I've spent most of my life in environmental education, and in that, I was my I came up with a goal for myself. My goal was to help people fall in love with nature to the degree that we will change our behavior and take action to protect it and to be stewards. And ideally, when we're taking action, it's informed action. So, because I'm a little bit of a science nerd, I have to define my terms. So, when I'm saying fall in love with the world, that's kind of a loosey-goosey term. So, I came up with this. Here's my working definition of love. And I want to share this. I want to encourage you to try this on, see if this works for you. Because with this definition, it has helped me focus and clarify a whole bunch of things in the way that I teach. What is love? All right. I believe that love is the act of sustained, compassionate attention. Love is attention. And so think about obviously the most easy thing is I'm not so much talking about like that when you fall in love with somebody, that's more of a trick of our biochemistry to get us to pair bond long enough to perpetuate the species. But think about the love that has come over time with a partner or a child. Or think about your love of a place. Is there a place that you love? And think of the role of paying attention for developing your relationship with that. It's through attention that we build connection and we build relationship. So I believe that attention is love, and that we can train ourselves how to reclaim and to focus our attention. And that's incredibly, incredibly empowering. At the same time, there's a whole bunch of app developers whose job it is to capture and commodify your attention. And they're good at it. They're really, really good at it. I've gotten to the point where I've had to tell all my like search browsers and things, like if I look at a video and it knows my past history of looking at videos, it's going to say you may also like, and then present to me a whole panoply of options. And the problem is they're spot on. they've got me right between the eyes, and I'll go like, oh, and I'll click on the next thing, and the click on the next thing, and then the next one is just coming right up, and like, oh, click, right? And then where did that day go? They've taken my attention, and they've turned it into something that they can track and capture. And I think that that doesn't make us better people. It certainly doesn't make us happier. And I don't think that it improves our relationships and the quality of our life. And that ain't love. So how can we, with intention, get our get our attention back with intention to get our attention back? What are there other tools that help us focus that and to do that? I believe absolutely yes. And I think that attention is something that we can train ourselves to do, to practice, and we can get better and better at it. And the more that we do, the more fun being alive is. The more fun being alive is. Just you've got this incredible, I'm going to get out my brain. You've got this incredible wad of electric meat between your ears, and it is so much fun to kind of get out there and play with it. And And to do that deliberately, we need help. You see, this, as wonderful as all of these neural connections are, it's really, really limited. It's already pretty maxed out with kind of dealing with the world. And and now we want it to do higher order thinking. It's going to have trouble. So to help it, that's where this comes in. That's where your journal comes in. This journal, your journal, I think is the most important critical thinking tool that we have. And this isn't anything new. This is a tool that has been used for centuries. Ever since we figured out how to do the whole paper thing, people have been using journals, and it's changed the way that we can think. The in our electric meet, we can hold about seven or so different ideas or concepts at a time, plus or minus two. And that's not a lot of complexity. But in here, you're only limited by the number of pages that you have, and then you can get another journal. So it's like this thinking amplifier, this attention amplifier. If I go out into my garden and I look at a plant, I very quickly, my brain kind of goes like, yeah, you got this, and I'll identify it, and then like, yep, all right, I know what this is. And then my brain says, all right, let's bounce over to the next thing. But the idea that I could actually let's sit with this a little bit longer. Like that's the beauty of sit spots. Like how powerful the sit spot activity is. I used to do all these different activities in my um when I'd lead groups for a week at outdoor school. And at the end of the day, what you ask the students what made the biggest impact on you again and again and again. The sit spot was like, yes, I nailed it, right? The sit spot's got it because you have time in a place, right? Keep doing the sit spots. But the journal is very much like that. What it does is it gets you past that kind of quick, let's bounce to the next thing, bounce to the next thing, and let's sink into some moment. And then when you do, the world starts to offer itself up. There is all of this complexity and wonder that is just beyond the point that we usually stop paying attention. The whole beauty of the world is waiting right there. And so if we can get ourselves to stick with something and go deeper, there's all of this complexity. We notice more. We can also then use that to help us figure things out. There's all sorts of puzzles in front of us. So I believe that this this is your brain on paper. That's what journaling is it's getting your whole experience out of just these electrical connections, getting it onto this piece of paper so that your brain is able to handle even more beauty, handle even more complexity. And this is true from a scientific perspective as well as a social emotional thing. Anybody out there who keeps a diary, the data shows that the people who keep diaries are more social emotionally intelligent than the folks who don't. I don't keep a diary, which tells you a lot about me. But I'm starting to bring elements of that into my journaling because I find when I can reflect out on nature, but also take those same skills and bring it in, and then so much more happens. Ooh, it's beautiful. Right. So um, let's talk practically about how to do this. Because if you've been nature journaling for a long time, you're like, yeah, I already knew that. I just want to first say thank you and also reinforce that. But if you're new to this, how do you go about it? Um, Emily Ligren, who's a wonderful educator here in California, and I wrote this book on how to teach nature journaling. And there's a whole bunch of activities in there with demonstrations, like how would you sketch this on a whiteboard, and 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 that whole book is free. You can go to johnmuirlaws.com. You can download the entire book at no cost. And there's two versions. One you can look at as a thing on your screen. Another is made for printing out. You can also get hard copies of the book. So there's some resources like that that I think are really, really useful. We also made videos of this so that the activities that are in this book, if sometimes like when I took Project Wild, my Project Wild instructor, maybe we did six or so different activities out of the Project Wild book, and then I got the whole book, and then I went back home and I did those six activities with my students. And I think we tend to do the things that we've actually seen done because it's easier to visualize. Or you're walking down a trail and you're like, this would be a great place for how many bears can live in the forest. No, how many, yeah, or oh deer, or whatever you want to be doing. You've got that, like you look at the place and you go like, ooh, this is the place for the activity. So we made some videos of teachers teaching these things. So you can kind of look at it like, oh, I can kind of see what kind of space that looks like, what that kind of the timing on that is. I sort of see how that feels. You go to wildwonder.org. That's a nonprofit that we started to help people do nature journaling. You can see all those videos. Also on my website, I've got something called the Nature Journal Connection, which are short 10 to 15-minute videos that you can watch where I basically guide you through doing an activity. So you can just look at one of those, kind of like, oh, I kind of like that as an activity. Then you can go out and do it with your kids. Or you can do a flipped classroom where you can have your kids watch a video at home and then come in with you, and then you can go out there in the field. So I just want to say there's a lot of resources out there, and sometimes people, because the book is that thick, people might start starting to think like teaching nature journaling, this is like this must be pretty complex stuff. But I want to tell you that it isn't. It's really, really straightforward. What we're essentially doing is we are finding some little piece of nature that catches our interest, something we're like, oh, cool. So if you kind of are walking down the trail and you see something that kind of makes you go, huh, right? You've got a great phenomenon to latch onto. And then what we're going to be doing is we are using the journal to collect information about it. So first, just we've you're probably familiar with this idea of I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. So what do you notice? What do you notice? What do you notice? What do you notice? So getting all those elements in there on the page, you start with these I notices, and then a question pops up like, oh, I wonder about that, right? So I write that down too. So anything that comes up in your brain, whether it's a connection that you're making, like that reminds me of this thing that I learned about photosynthesis, that I'm going to write that down on the page. So my notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. And then I'm going to put all that down on my paper using three languages. Those are words, pictures, and numbers. So I've got, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Everybody put up three fingers and put up another three fingers. That's words, pictures, and numbers. And what you're going to do is take your I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and your words, pictures, and numbers. You're going to marry them together and then put that down on your page. That's those 31 activities. That's what we're doing. And then what you're going to do is reflect on that use what this experience to kind of like, what have we noticed? What have we asked? And by looking down on the page, you can get your thinking processes to go beyond your 7 ± 2 to make deeper connections with whatever you're doing. So let's just look at some nature journaling examples. All right. What Here we are. We're going to, oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to go here and there we are. All right. So this is a journal and let's see. This is looking out at a very cooperative otter in Point Reyes. This otter was swimming around catching fish in a little lagoon. And you'll notice um, that there's a picture of it with its back kind of humped up, and it says, "Humpback when walking." What I'm doing, shake a shake a shake it in the sand. This thing was rubbing all around, right? It's rolling around in the sand. Is it scraping off ectoparasites? You'll notice here I've got observations and I've also got questions. Is it so catching fish near the shore? Is it hurting the fish to corral them by the bank? So I make an observation and then I'm tying my questions to that. I've got pictures, I've got words. Other places I am measuring things and adding numbers to them. So here's looking at poison oak and looking at the dimensions of these things and trying to see is there a correlation between um, the the jaggies on here. Look, so some smooth and jaggies and um, and petiole length, so or height of the bush. So I'm like classifying these things. This is allowing me to think about poison oak in a way that if I just walked up to it and kind of looked like, oh yeah, there's poison oak. I've seen that before. I'm not going to touch it. I know what's going on here. So by geeking out with some poison oak, my brain went further than it normally did. Another day I was out with a bunch of kids. There was a homeschool group near my home, and they called me up and they said, "Can we meet you in the field?" And I said, "Yes," and we did, and it was fun. So we went out and we found that there were two different species of dragonflies at this pond, and they would rest in different ways, and they had different behaviors. One would perch and then fly out from the perch. The other one would just fly around and very rarely perch, but when it did, it dangled down. So that was cool. And so it was cooperative. So and kept coming back. So I made this sketch of it. But check this out. Then we got a closer look at it, and I realized that I had drawn the wings coming out up here, but really the wings came out further down here, right? So I had drawn something. This was sort of a combination of me looking at a dragonfly flying around and trying to go like what is the pattern? What's going on there? What's happening? And and then putting my sketch down. And invariably there are going to be errors in how I do that. And but if I didn't actually draw a picture of it, this wouldn't have emerged to my attention as like, well, actually they're coming out back here. So it's because I'm putting things in the book that I was able to notice this. And what I did is I then changed my mind about dragonflies. I thought it was this. And then I made these observations, and now I think this. So what you're seeing here is that whole kind of iterative process of changing your mind in the presence of evidence. And um, and I couldn't do that just with sitting out there looking at this thing. It actually has to get down here in in the book because there's so much more information here than my 7 ± 2. And then one of the kids found this dying dragonfly over by a little cement wall, and I realized that actually I had the shape of the wings wrong. And also take a look at this. So there's sort of two segments up here, and then I have the body coming down. So I had the audacity to kind of go no, the wings are further back on the thorax. And I wrote the word yes in there, like, yes, yes, it's this. All right. But then we find this one, and I realized that there's actually these, look at that in that part of the body. There's this third section down here. And look at the shape of these things. Oh my gosh. So I crossed out my yes and wrote closer. And then wrote down here. Now I've kind of learned from my mistake. I didn't write like this is the new yes because I know that this one also has something wrong with it. So I just wrote this is the closest. Right. So what you've done seen is I've been able to change my mind. I couldn't do that just looking at something. So what you need is a notebook, and then you need some sort of a phenomenon. And what I want to do here is just for us to play with this a little bit, and I'm going to show you kind of show you the flow of how this works. Um, And so you first walk along until you find something that makes you go, right? That's interesting. That's weird. And so I walked out in my garden and look at what I found. Look at this thing. Look at you. Right here is this is on my lemon tree. And then I started looking around and then I had like, what about this little rhinoceros lemon? Right? And so that was really fun. And then I looked around more. So I think like, well, I didn't expect that. And then look at this. This is what I found up on this other branch. Like first you're thinking to yourself, oh, like that must be like several things all fused together. No, like this is really this was one thing. This crazy structure. It looks like something out of, what is it? Geiger, that person who invented Alien. Right? I mean, that is such a crazy shape. So there's something going on here that I don't understand. Like my kind of mental model of what lemons do is wrong. And so here's an opportunity for me to change my mind in the presence of evidence. So what I like to do, because I'm dyslexic, is I will start by making a little sketch of it. So I just sort of start saying, I've got something that's roughly like that big. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yep. And and I am going to lightly on my piece of paper here just get a sketch down that will feel like my little lemon here, right? And if you're thinking, well, this is great if you're an artist, but I'm not an artist and that's not my comfort zone. Um, the purpose of this is not to make a pretty picture. The purpose of this is to make a useful picture. And by useful, I mean that there's something about this phenomenon that the process of sketching it is going to help me notice something that I otherwise would not have noticed. So I've got this big kind of blob that comes up in here. There's a blob with a little hook that comes up on top of that. And then there's a finger that lays up in here, and it's next to another little finger, and there's an extra bonus bump in there, and then it comes around and it's going to attach to a little stem down here. And
Jack Merrill asked if that's an erasable pen.
nope. I start off with something that is erasable. This is just a mechanical pencil with some purple lead in it. So it's forgiving. If I want to kind of get rid of some of those lines, I can. But then I've gone over that with this is just sort of this is a regular sort of fiber tip waterproof pen. And so I'm just starting noticing things about it. So this has one, two, three, four, five. So there's five, I'm going to call them peaks. Part of what this is going to force me to do is to start to come up with my own little terms. There are five peaks, and two of them are big, and two medium, so two big, two medium, one baby bear. And I'm actually going to turn this around this way and just draw the top of this. No, I think I'm going to draw the whole thing again. It's in here. So I've got one little kind of swoosher that's up here, and and then there are one peak here, a second peak here, a third peak there, and a little hole. And and then this part here, I'm seeing some lines like that. What I'm really trying to do is to get myself to notice things that are different than the way that I think it should be. And um, that is the place that I am going to learn something new about lemons. Because this is actively doing something that if I had made up a lemon, it would not look like this. So my brain feels the lemon is wrong. But when your brain and the lemon disagree, believe the lemon. Right? So then there's another little piece that is coming in here. And this is interesting. Do you see this? There's these little marks here. I'm wondering what is there seems to be like some little section that is attaching to that little small poker right up in there. And then we have this guy here. And
So, Jack, as you're drawing, do you want to answer a few questions? Or
I will
do
be
you want to
happy.
do that after you're done?
Well, let's see if we can multitask. What is a question
Okay.
that popped up?
I do have to say that I love Tina's comment that she has 100 journals with nothing on the pages. I've got to rethink my approach.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's actually maybe start by just sort of addressing that it's super easy to um, well, let me see, I'm going to change this view to it's super easy to um to buy gear, right? Like I'm going to buy this new jacket and then I'm going to be backpacking. And so sometimes we'll and the process of getting more gear and the satisfaction of sort of feeling that planning, right? And seeing your future self going out using that. That actually does lots to satiate our desire to do something. So beware of the planning fallacy or the gear trap where like I'm gonna get like all the right gear. Like oh, John Muir Laws has got a website. I'm gonna buy some gear off of this. And now I can nature journal. Like there's stuff already in your closet. You're fine. You're fine. Um, Oh, but by the way, if there is something that you really need on my website and you can't afford it, please just shoot me an email and say, I need those binoculars, right? But I can't afford them right now. And I'll send you a pair of binoculars. And if at some point in the future you can repay me, that's great. If not, pay it forward in other sorts of ways, right? So if I can help you with some gear, I'm happy to do that. But you probably are actually totally fine with the gear that you have right now. Um, the what you want to do is just have a low bar for starting to use it. And if you think like you need like a huge block of time in order to do something because it has to be like big and significant, then you're never going to do it. So just kind of allow yourself to do sort of little more sort of bite-sized pieces. And so today a red-tailed hawk flew up into the my through my yard and up into a a sycamore that is near my house, mobbed by crows, hung out there for maybe 20 minutes. And so I got to go sketch it. And at first I was thinking to myself, like, no, it's probably going to fly away. It's probably just going to fly away. And I felt all these excuses not to start. And then eventually it will fly away. But I did start. And so ended up getting, before it did, um, you know, a whole bunch of upside down. There we go. No, that way. The of little red-tailed hawk mini sketches before it disappeared. So if you can give yourself sort of a low threshold, um, that's that's useful. So then what I want to do here is I'm going to start with just some I notice, right? And now, um, what kind of questions? So into the chat, drop any questions that you're having. Um, and I'm going to write why these spires, right? Um, and then I'm going to think to myself, could this be insect? Maybe gall, uh, fungus, bacteria. Maybe this was some sort of structural damage. Huh. Because they weren't all there's just this guy. This one wouldn't have been interesting to have seen this one when it was on the tree. What did this lemon look like? Um, and then I'm gonna give it some it reminds me of. It reminds me of. It reminds me of flames. It reminds me of dragon fruit. It reminds me of lobsters, right? Like pinchers. No, it's a scorpion. It's a scorpion stinger.
And Jack, there are lots of questions in the chat of what
Oh,
people
great.
are
Drop
guessing.
a couple of them on me.
Okay, it reminds me of meringue. It kind of looks
Oh,
like
oh.
garlic. Um, Looks like a flower bud. I wonder what it looks like on the inside. I wonder how the weird form affects the taste.
Ooh, ooh. Hey, let's answer some of those. So some questions we can answer by just direct observation. Like how many points are there on it? One, two, three, four, five, right? And then I can say like, what does it look on the like on the inside? What this does is it then starts motivating you to like, so how many people have a knife in their kit, in your naturalist kit, right? Because if you don't have a knife, you can't open things up. Crazy stuff that you can open up. But probably for me, the craziest things that I've opened up, I found a deer that had been freshly killed by a mountain lion, and I was out with a group of kids, right? And we were right there at Walker Creek Ranch. We find this mountain lion kill, and there's this deer. And so we're looking around, is there a mountain lion somewhere near us? And then we're kind of thinking like the body is really bulging. And so we decided on the spot to do a necropsy. So pulled out a knife, and the next thing you know, we're going into the carcass of this freshly killed deer. She was pregnant, two fawns. And the fawns are still in a jar at Walker Creek Ranch. It did. But so yeah, if you don't have a knife, you can't do necropsies on deer. But let's try this and then taste it and then compare it with the other one. Oh, maybe not that one. Does that sound like fun? So you see what's happening here is like a question kind of came up and then you just lean into that. And so what's happening live here today is that the phenomenon is starting to pull your curiosity along. I like to think of curiosity. Every phenomenon out there has, I mean, this is amazing. There's so much crazy stuff going on here. But it'd be easy just to walk right past this and kind of go like, ah, I got it, right? So, right, it has a gravity well of wonder. So imagine, like you know those all those diagrams you've seen of the curvature of space-time. There's a super dense object there. It has a deep gravity well. What you want to do is because if you're whipping along really fast, you might change your trajectory as you come near the black hole, but you're going back out in space. But if you're going slow enough, then what happens is you can get caught in the gravity well of wonder that is surrounding this. And it pulls you in and pulls you in and pulls you in and pulls you in. And so you want to be, that's what you want to invite. So if you want to teach curiosity, initially it's just like, let's come up with questions, right? But then, like, find the things that you can do something with. And then, like, let's go there. And then where does that take us? Like, oh, let's go there. Um, Another time I was out hiking along with a bunch of kids at Pepperwood Ranch, and we saw a red-tailed hawk take up out of the grass, and one of its feathers falls down. We're like, oh, that's really neat. What was it doing on the grass? So we go over there. There is a headless king snake that is thrashing around. It had just been beheaded, and we scared the red-tailed hawk off of it. But wait, there's more because there's now this headless king snake. It's already died, so we decided to open it up. So we open it up. So first of all, the heart was still beating, and every time it would beat, it would go, it would flip up. It would flip up like that. And we're kind of figuring out like, okay, here are we found the digestive tract, and there are bumps in the digestive tract. So we open up the digestive tract. There's two voles inside the king snake digestive tract that's been killed by the red-tailed hawk. So we then like, oh, what's inside those? So we start opening them up, and I had this fantasy like we'll find little pieces of seeds in there. We got into their digestive tract, and there was mush. Just sort of, what is it, chime? They call it like the little. So, but there wasn't like the clear seeds. But gosh, there's a memorable food chain moment. What you want to do is let the phenomenon change your behavior. So when you get caught in the gravity well, let yourself be sucked in and you change your behavior. So let's cut this thing
Yeah.
open and see what
Yep.
we get.
And and Jack, as you're cutting it open, there are a lot of questions that you can get to in a minute about how to help students that are having a hard time starting their page, and that students who want to draw beautiful pictures and get focused on the output rather than the experience. So just be thinking of that. Thanks, Olivia and Stephanie, for those questions. Ooh, look at that.
Okay. Now, let's first maybe check out if I think how this should look, right? Think to yourself like we're expecting something like that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This has seven little parts inside there, right? That's not this one. Um, I wonder what it will look like. I'm guessing that I'm thinking that these little tails may be related to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm wondering if this has five sections in it and they're not symmetrical. Hmm. What do you think is going to be going on? Should we take a look? Oh, oh, oh. Cha! Oh, look at that. Look at this asymmetry. And also look at this. We've got the little center in the center here. Whoa! What up with that? This is connected to the side, and look at how asymmetrical they are. Oh, that's so weird. And this little white bar here, it comes along lining up with that? Oh, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And I love that. Um, so if I trace that, um, and now I've got a little divot here. We're coming around here. I missed my line. And then we've got these little tails that are swinging up here. And then, oh, I think so. The question that is on the table is what about this whole kind of pretty picture thing? If my um, if my goal becomes to make a pretty picture, then it becomes about the page and it is no longer about the lemon. And um, if I allow myself to, I can get lost in the product rather than the experience or the phenomenon. And that is going to interfere with my ability to think and to notice things. And so it really is a liability to start to kind of get into pretty pictures. Um, the more you do this stuff, the more those pictures are going to start coming out the way you imagined it when you started. Um, but what I do is I tell students, and I'm going to tell you folks the same thing. Don't worry about the pretty pictures. If you get a pretty picture, that's okay. If not, that's okay. My journals have lots of pictures in them because I'm dyslexic and I don't make spelling mistakes whenever I draw a picture. And so that sort of emotionally is a little bit easier for me to start with. And as a result, um, the my journals have a lot of pictures in them. If you are more comfortable writing, your journals can be mostly writing. If you are more comfortable, if you're a quant person and you like measuring things and counting things, um, then your journal can be mostly that. Um, I think I want to, let me show you a little trick. I've got a little paint set here, and I suspect if I put, I've got some pencil down there. If I put, I'm just going to check the color off on the side here. I'll bet if I put paint over that, the white lines will show up better. Um, so it's really easy to start thinking that if you're looking at somebody's journal and they're putting a lot of pictures in there, then you start thinking, oh, this is a place where you have to be making lots of pictures. The pictures are one tool of the three: words, pictures, numbers. Um, so if you draw, a great way to kind of take your pressure off your drawing is one, two, three, four, five, six. So six sections inside. Um, three small, three big. Kind of, and let's try this. That was if I'm going to just draw a little line across here.
And and Jack, what are your tools there on the paint? Is the pen, somebody asked, watercoloring pen? Is it just filled with water?
Oh yeah, this is a water brush. If you do watercolors, um, don't start. I don't recommend people start with watercolors because there's a bit of a learning curve with it. Um, but if you are already doing watercolors, you got to get yourself a water brush because it just it makes everything really easy. You just have a little rag that you give it a squeeze and a wipe, and then the brush is clean and you're on to the next color. And so it makes things really, really easy to use in the field. Or what I usually do is just have a piece of an old sock that I can put around my wrist, and then I'm painting and I do that, and my brush is clean. And for bonus points, if you're carrying a sock around with you, you might as well have sock puppet because why not? Um, so I mean that was cool, but doesn't it make you want to kind of slice it a little bit further up here? Do like what is happening? There are one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, five, six, one, two, one, two, three, four, five, six. There were seven in here. Um, if I slice up further here, will there still be this many? I gotta know. I gotta know. See, what's happening here is my curiosity has been hijacked by the phenomenon. Oh, craze ball. All right, so we went from this to this. Look at that. One, two, three, four, five. And then this one here is now this hollow space that this little, so you can, if you have a little wire, if you have a little wire, you can go in through this hole and come out there. So this chamber lines up with this first little hole. I'm going to, what are some other questions? Can we get any other questions about this?
Yes, Jack, there's a lot of questions. I think some of a lot of the questions are talking about how do you get, for example, young people started, or if they're hesitant or they don't want to do this, what's your advice
Oh.
for that? How do you spark interest in students that might not want to participate? What are some of the tricks that you use,
All right.
including there are a lot of people who don't think they're artists.
All right. So yeah, let's address with this. So it's not an art contest, and I say right up front, this is not about art. This is not about making pretty pictures. How many of you like to draw? And some kids will raise their hand. Great. I say, so your journals can be mostly drawing. How many of you prefer writing to drawing? Some other hands go up. I say, all right, your journals can be mostly writing, but for you writers, I'm going to suggest that you make a few little diagrams, little maps, a few little visual things because um, it'll get your brain thinking in a different way. And similarly, you art people,
start with your drawing, but also let's use some words to record information. We're not interested in a pretty picture or poetry. We're interested in useful observations. So any way you can get things down on the page, that's great. And so I tell them at the start, it's not about pretty pictures. We'll remember that because we'll come back to that in just a moment, because that's a really big deal and it's easy to lose track of. The next thing that I do, and we've got a bunch of activities in here that kind of help us do this. We're going to distract them from the fact that they're drawing pictures by playing a game. So, for instance, everybody's got a pine cone or a leaf. Easier to start with leaves. Pine cones get scary fast. Everybody's got a leaf. So you walk up under the tree, everybody gets a leaf. You challenge people to find the most interesting leaf that you can. Find the best leaf. Who's got the most interesting leaf? I can find ones like so. You're walking along like this leaf. Nope, nope. Then you drop that leaf and go like, oh, I like this one. Eventually, everybody's got a leaf from underneath the same kind of tree. Everybody's got a little bay leaf, say. And then you show them that, if I'm drawing this, if I trace it right at the start, already I've got some lines on the paper. That's a really kind of easy way to start. What we're going to do is we're going to map the patterns of dot spots and bug bites and all the things that you see on this leaf. We're going to map that onto the drawing that you have. And here's the reason why. In just a moment, we're going to take all the leaves and put them into the center, in a pile in the center. And then we're going to put all of our journals around that outside of that in a ring. And the challenge will be, can we match each leaf to one of the journals? So as you're doing this, let's use words, pictures. You can also use numbers. You can count things. You can measure things. Any clues that you think would be helpful to somebody else matching your leaf with that one there, with your journal, is successful. So we want to be able to do that. Um, and so everybody's sitting there. Very often we're starting with, you traced it, makes it much easier to start. No pressure. Everybody can trace. And then people are writing in notes, and at some point you say, like, I really want to encourage people to, like, what kind of clues would be really helpful to somebody? Like, if I say it's green, how might I modify that? And so you can have, as people are doing it, you can kind of tweak things so that you get better descriptions, and then you play the game. And everybody, um, and every time I've played this, everybody's been able to match up all the leaves with all of the journals. And then you can pass out little pieces of tape. People can tape their leaf on there and they're like, wow, that was really, really fun. But you see, we played a game. And that distracted you from the fact of saying, so I didn't just sort of say, like, now I want you to draw the best leaf that you can. I said, I want you to be able to record enough information about your leaf that we can match it with the real thing. What are some strategies that would help with that? So we played a little game. It took the attention off of that. And usually when you're playing a game like that, it's not been we haven't really emphasized the questions, the I wonders and the it reminds me of. So you can then kind of go into that as another activity. Everybody, let's kind of go back to our leaf. Like, let's kind of look at it. Did anybody notice anything about their leaf? Does anybody might have found kind of a mystery or a little puzzle in the leaf? Well, mine was brown towards the tip. Many of them were brown towards the tip. Why are they brown towards the tip? Not wonderful. There's a great example of a question. Let's write that down. And so you can build that page up with, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. But we played a game. There are other games which we can play, and again, free book. Where one of my favorites, it's called the secret plant search, where you send them out into the field and each kid finds a plant and they're going to describe that plant on their page as best they can. They leave it in place. They fluff up the grasses where they were sitting so nobody can use that as a clue. And then they're going to come back and they're going to bring a partner over to their plant, show that person the general area where they were working, and say, which one is my plant? Here are my notes. All right. Take a look at these. Which one do you think it is? And if the person has trouble doing that, they can narrow down the area. Say, okay, it's within this area here. Which one is that? If they still have difficulty, they can narrow down the area even more. And guess what? Everybody's 100% successful with this game. Um, but you'll see when people are treating it that way that I want to have clues on my paper that will help somebody else find my plant.
Jack,
If
this is, oh, keep going, keep going. I was
oh,
just going to say it's so great. Keep going.
so I um, if my partner finds my plant, I win the game. And so we all can win. And so it's got this little pressure release valve in it, like that thing that goes off on the pressure cooker, right? If they can't find it, they can narrow down the area. Um, and you'll be amazed how specific people get in their notes and their drawings. So instead of like draw a tree, if you tell everybody to draw a tree, we'll draw the tree in our head, right? You do this, they're drawing that specific little plant. And you've got people paying attention, which brings us back to love. So a really interesting thing when um I've watched kids play this and they're bringing a buddy over to this is the area where my plant is. Here's my notes. Take a look at it. And so the other person has got their book and they're kind of looking around and they're about to accidentally step on their partner's plant because they haven't spotted it yet. You'll see this other kid throw themselves in front of them. Wait, 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 wait. Don't go any further. Right? They have become a protector of that plant. There is a relationship between them and that one plant. You see the same thing with the leaves. That I did that leaf that thing where you draw the leaves that I described earlier. At the end of that, I taught this at um, there was a teacher conference, and I taught this to a bunch of teachers. And then what we saw is that all the teachers then took their leaf and they put it into their name tag for their conference. And for the rest of the conference, you could tell the people who took that workshop, they carried their leaf with them for the rest of the conference. It wasn't just a leaf. It was of all the leaves that are out there. It's like there are many leaves, but this one is mine. And because they paid attention to it, they connected with that leaf and it became special. Not because it is the best leaf, but because it is the leaf that they had attended to. You gave them permission to pay attention, and they developed a relationship with that. In the same way that people fall in love with their sit spot, you can fall in love with a leaf. And attention is transformative. And what we're doing is we're giving people better tools to pay attention. And then there's one last little piece with this. Think to yourself, what is the easiest thing for you to say when a student comes up with their journal and says, look at what I did? What's naturally with us big grown-ups, the first thing that comes out of our mouth? Write it into the chat. What do we say? What are you supposed to say to a kid who shows you their artwork? I see good jobs. Wow, good job. That's amazing. Well done. Nice. That's beautiful. All right. That's great. Oh, that's so cool. It's amazing. It's pretty. Yeah, it looks awesome. And yeah, so if somebody shows you their drawing, and it's usually what we do is we say, "Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. What a good drawing. That looks so good." Right? Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow, that's what a great drawing. Good job. Right? We want to give positive reinforcement. So look at this. It's not about the pretty picture. Don't worry about making pretty pictures. We're scientists, so it's a useful picture. If it helps us notice something, then it works. So you can emphasize the words, emphasize the pictures, whatever is good for you. Then fast forward. Oh, good job. That's such a beautiful picture. Oh, that's so good. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow. What a beautiful picture. Good job. You drew a nice picture of that flower. See the problem? Now, the kid who has brought you their journal to get, they're the drawer in the class, right? And they've come up to you to get another hit off that tab that they know always comes out like, oh, you did such a good job. What a pretty picture. But next to them is that other kid who you actually got them to draw. You got them outside of their comfort zone. They stopped drawing in third grade because they felt that their house didn't look like a house and their dog didn't look like a dog. But because you framed it in this way, they decided to take a risk and they stepped outside of their comfort zone. And then they're listening and they're going like, oh, so it was about the pretty picture all along. Interesting. You said it wasn't, but it really, really was because it's really clear in what you value. And you got me this time. See if you get me again. So that kid's just shut down.
Yeah.
That kid who always gets praised for their pretty picture, they don't really care. They get that every day, and their parents have their pictures all over the refrigerator, and their grandmother does too. So another way of doing it is the feedback that we give matters. And I'm not saying don't give positive feedback, but I'm saying let's reframe that to target the things that are really important to us. So that kid comes up to you with the pretty picture, I look down at it and I say, "Oh, wow. That's great. Oh my gosh. What an interesting question. I never have asked this before. Well, how did you come up with this question? So tell me more about that. What was your thought process that allowed you to come up with this? All of a sudden, I'm talking about their question, or I'm or on again with the ones that are really the like the pretty picture ones. I'll point out something that they wrote in their note, right? So or how does this in what way does this remind you of a papusa, right? Tell me more about that. That's really cool. All right. So this reminds you of a Pokemon character. Which one? All right. What is that one? Oh, I don't know that one. What does it look like? All right. Oh, cool. All right. Um, so I'm going to engage with them about the information that they put on the page, not how they put the information on the page. If somebody wrote something, I'm not going to sit there and say, like, your spelling is so good, except here, right? Who cares? Same thing with the pretty picture. In an art class, okay, I'm going to critique art in a and do it in a positive way. In a grammar class, I'm going to critique grammar. But in nature journaling and in a science class, I'm going to look at your ideas and your thoughts and your questions. And I'm going to notice what you noticed. And I'm going to ask questions about things that you are kind of making and it reminds me of. So they've done the I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. When I'm giving feedback, that's exactly what I do. Is I could just be a mirror. I noticed that you noticed this. Good noticing. Right? I'm not saying that's a beautiful picture of a deer. I'm saying like I noticed that you know have observed that the deer's ears are kind of forward and at an angle on the top of its head. That's a really good observation, and you recorded that here. Um, Easy way of doing an I notice is just to read back to them one of the written observations that they made. Or you could ask a question about it. Like, let's say they said that the stem is hairy and fuzzy. They're like, that's a really cool observation. The stem is really fuzzy. I wonder what the function of that could be. So I'm doing an I wonder on their I notice. Or they can say, um, that they've observed that it's fuzzy. And I could say like, wow, yeah, here that's a really good observation. That reminds me of velvet. I'm role modeling and it reminds me of off of their observation. So they've either come with I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. I'm going to just come right back at them with I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. And we're having a conversation about the phenomenon, not about the pretty picture.
Yeah.
Right?
So
So the secret to nature journaling, I now have this afternoon sun coming in here. So the secret to nature journaling is that nature does all the work. And what we do is we get out of the way. We've got a few prompts that will, here's the structure of the game we're going to play. And again, we've got 31 of them here. Um, then nature takes over, and they're looking carefully at nature. And when they do that, that process of their attention to nature transforms them. And we get out of the way. I'll often say that this activity, we're going to be now doing this next thing. I'm going to say we have 17 and a half minutes. Sometimes I'll give very specific, like we've got this much time to do this, because then people have this sort of sense that like, oh, something's really going to happen. But then very often I'll go out in the field and I don't have a watch because I'm not keeping track of time. I'm watching them. And if they're really into it, I let it run. If they're not into it, it'll be a shorter activity. So I'm going to sort of read the room. What is the energy level? And you'll also notice that there will be those kids. They start and you got everybody settled. Everybody's kind of nestled down into the grass. Here's some troubleshooting for you. And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do it too. You get out your journal, and then you look up, and there's one kid is already up, and they're starting to walk around, and they're going over to friends like, are you done yet too? And they're already done. They've been at it for 3 minutes, and they're done. And so, and then they're going to tell that kid that they're done, and then that kid will be like, oh, you're done. Well, I want to go play with you, and let's go over to the creek and throw rocks. And then everybody else is going to want to go over there and do that. And oh no, it's a lever track. What will we do? And so this I'm done early thing is really challenging. Here is a great way to handle it though. What I do is I will tell them very often, here's an interesting thing that will happen to you partway through this activity is you are going to get the feeling that you're done. You're going to get a really kind of clear feeling like, oh, and I'm done. Right? What I want you to do is just notice when that happens. Sometimes also I will give people snacks. I'm going to say, here's your snack. What I want you to do is go do this exercise. When you get to that point where you feel that you're done, what I'd like you to do is have your snack and then take a look back at it now that you've got some blood sugar in you. And that feeling of being done actually has nothing to do with observation because the amount of things that you could observe is really infinite. And so what you can do is I want to see what are the most interesting observations or questions that you can come up with after you get the feeling of being done. So just notice when that comes up for you. I'm going to ask you not to kind of get up and walk around because you might disturb somebody else who's still really into what they're doing. But just have your snack. And then go back into it and see what else you can add. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Very often, the most interesting questions that we have don't come right at the start. And sometimes you have to look at something for a while to really figure out the intricacies of it.
So, Jack, this is amazing. I don't know if you've been looking at the chat at all. We're running
I
out.
can't
Yeah,
multitask like that. I'm also dyslexic, so
yeah,
You'd be amazed at
we're
how
we're
reading is
we're
kind of challenging for me.
yeah. Well, we're running out of time, but I just want to let you know, first of all, great ideas in the chat, great support, all of that good stuff. Everybody wants to go on a hike with you. Number one, they
Oh,
want to
we
be out
should.
in the woods with you, including me. We did have a lot of other questions that we probably won't get to, so maybe we can work with you to answer a few like early childhood. What's the best time to start journaling? What do you
Great.
do with college students? We just have a lot of questions like that. And I know a lot is in your materials, so we will follow up, yes, with a lot of this, how to
Yeah.
teach nature journaling. Let me
So
just
yeah,
ask you one
but
thing.
also
Oh,
for
and
other
a lot of
resources
questions on
too.
your equipment.
Yeah. So so with the equipment ones, don't worry too much about the equipment. Keep it simple. I mean, the here's the essential tool. The Dixon Ticonderoga #2. You got that bad boy sharpened up. Boom, you're ready to go. Um, and the with with the younger kids, everybody is w ready to go into it. Like we get to go outside, we get to draw pictures. It's nature time. Game on. And but a lot of them are not going to be have language ability at the start. And so ways of handling that, um, if they are starting to get words, they can use those words on their page. But if not, you can rely on the on the pictures part. And that those other parts will come. The um, for Oh, it looks like we are at the
No,
end of
but
our.
the last thing you can do, you're getting a lot of hearts and claps and all of
Well,
that.
I'm seeing.
Um,
By the way, I've enjoyed all those little floating hearts through the presentation. So thank you, folks, very much for those. Um,
and
that's
look
been
at
really
all of
fun.
those. Look at all of
That's
those.
a
This
lot
has
of
been,
hearts.
it's
That's a
so
lot of hearts. Oh,
inspirational. And I hate to, like, we could go on for hours, but I know that some of you have other things that you need to do, but so many
then
thank
could I
yous in
have
the
one
chat.
last closing thought to share?
Yes, I would love to have you with your sock hand. Go ahead.
Okay. So here's some final advice from me and my sock puppet. First of all, the people can do this. Yeah, you can totally do this. It's great. You got it. You got this. And also, nature's got your back. So that when you kind of get out there, anytime like you're leading a nature journaling thing and you're feeling like this part really isn't going well, just get out of the way and say like, okay, now let's just go try it over there. Like, and you get people out there, they start doing the thing. Nature takes over. Nature's going to do the heavy lifting for you. What I love about this is it's like real eyes on time with nature. So we're not just playing a simulation game, it's eyes on time with nature. If you need more support, here are some resources. The Wild Wonder Foundation has an educator certification program. You don't need to do this program in order to be a nature journaling educator. But if you would like to, we have an educator certification program where we do deep dives into all sorts of different aspects and logistics of doing this. For instance, working with different age groups, working in informal education, working in the cold, all those sorts of things. In addition, every Wednesday there is a free online meetup group, or not meetup group, a Zoom meeting that I have called the Nature Journal Educators Forum, where nature journaling educators from around the world get together and we share ideas and thoughts. If there are things that are giving you trouble, you shoot me an email and we will bring the whole brain trust that is the Nature Journal Educators Forum to bear on that, where we'll get together and share. We'll take whatever is challenging you in your program and there will be experts who will kind of help you take it to the next level. So you're not alone on this. There's a bunch of resources out there. If you want to get the certification you can. And scholarships are also available for that for anyone who wants them. And I also just want to encourage you to start your own nature journaling practice. It's great for our students. It's also something that we need to help us connect with nature and to get out of some of that chatter in our heads, especially when times are challenging, to be able to go into nature and to find the peace that it brings is is really powerful. Um, and so if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling um, these are really challenging times for people who are really connected with nature
Yeah.
and systems. So, in closing, here's a short poem by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and children's lives may be. I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the green heron fields, and I come into the peace of wild things. who do not tax their lives with the forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I just want to remind you to take care of yourself, and our time in nature is a really important part of the self-care that we need to use in order to take care of others. Thank you.
Jack, thank you so much. It was inspirational and everybody really, we all got a lot out of it. And I love that poem. Thank you for reading that. So
It's called The
thank you,
Peace
thank you.
of Wild Things by Wendell Berry.
Thank you, thank you. And Carrie, do you want to talk about how to get the recording very quickly? And Jack, thank you again.
Jack, that was beautiful. Perfect way to end this incredible 90-minute webinar. It was just wonderful to hear the words of Wendell Berry. And for everyone who's been here and is enjoying this so much, the recording is going to hit your inbox probably within the next 3 or 4 days or so. You can go to the link that's on the screen or in the chat to just learn a little bit more about Jack in the meantime, and then we'll add it there. But this was just an incredible time together. If you are at all interested in submitting a proposal for the Natural Start Nature-Based Early Childhood Conference that will be coming up next summer in San Antonio, Texas, they're accepting submissions until the 12th. So there is a link here for where you can find out more about the Natural Start Alliance and share your proposal, which we would love to see. We also have a webinar coming up here just in a little over a week. It is a webinar for our global audience, including everyone here, about a little bit more about AI, specifically for environmental educators. So we're looking forward to having some global guests talk a little bit more about where AI fits into the environmental education conversation. And you can register at the link shown here or on our website. And for those of you who have not been part of these conversations, EE Pro is a digital space that NAAW offers, and we have a Connecting to Nature specific group. It's that one with the purple bird, and it's a chance for EE professionals to talk to each other about resources like this, talk to each other about the work that they're doing, inspiration for lessons, and just build out that digital community. So eepro.naaee.org is where you can find that, and we would love to have you join any of the EE Pro groups. And lastly, we would love to hear your thoughts on today's webinar. You can scan the QR code, you can go to our website, and there will be a survey for you. We'd love to hear what you think about today's conversation and also what you'd like to hear in the future. But again, thank you for being part of this. This has been just such a beautiful experience. And Jack, what a phenomenal presentation you shared with us today. I think we all walk away with a lot of new skills, new ideas, and new ways of thinking about how we connect with nature. So thanks again.
An honor and a pleasure to be here. And if there's any way that I can continue to be supportive, folks, please let me know.
Thank you, Jack. Somebody did ask if you go by John or Jack, and I
All
said
my
I
friends
call
call
you
me
Jack.
Jack, except my fourth grade principal when I was in trouble. But legally, I am a John.
Well, Jack, that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody for joining. People are still hanging on to get more of your wisdom on nature journaling.
They want to see you taste the lemon. Did you taste it? Are you going to taste it? That's really, I think, what we've got inquiring minds waiting for.
Oh, not that one. No, no, not that one.
No? No. Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Yes, try that.
Well,
As long as you're not dropping over.
I think what I need to do is to compare it. I want to compare it with ones that let's compare it with the rhinoceros. Because otherwise it tastes kind of lemony. Um, hmm. They do taste the same. It's a mild lemon, and it's really good. I like it.
Well, Jack, thanks for sharing your time with us. You are amazing. Best naturalist in the world.
Nah, But I do
Yeah.
love playing around with folks. Wouldn't it be fun to kind of get us all together and play in the woods? I'd love that.
Uh, well, you are welcome anytime you're in the DC area. I want to go on a hike with
I,
you.
I we'll see if we can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. Have a great night wherever you are. And thank you again, Jack. It was fantastic.